Welcome to the Connect Miami with author and life coach columnist Susie Moore, lifestyle and wellness coach Tracy Campoli, and the hottest radio jock in Miami, Stitches. Pull up to our community where we collaborate, we cultivate, and we make magic. Let's go.
Hello, South Florida. We are back at it this week and excited to have you here with us this Saturday. If you're here each Saturday, you can find us right here talking about business and success. And I'm here with my amazing co-hosts, Stitches and Tracy Campoli. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, ladies.
Oh, welcome.
Happy Saturday.
Success. Well, I would love to dive in. So there's a theory that's been popularized by author Malcolm Gladwell, and it says that it takes 10,000 hours to create mastery in any subject. And I was thinking about this. I wonder what all of you think about that.
Oh, okay. Can I just say that I love Malcolm Gladwell and I do believe in the 10,000 hour rule. We don't need it, but the way that I think about it, because I have no formal education, right? This is kind of one thing that I love to think about. If you are going to help somebody, the example that I love to give, if someone doesn't feel qualified in terms of traditional certifications, have they been busy doing the work anyway? One question that came up once for me was, if you were going to have heart surgery with somebody, would you rather it was someone who completed, 300 successful open heart surgeries or someone who just graduated, who hadn't done one yet? So I think so much credence can be given to experience, and we sometimes discount our experience. We have so much more than we realize. What do you think, Stitches?
You know what? It's funny because a recent article, I'm glad you brought that up, Tracy, because a recent article came about with The Guardian, and they raised up that theory of debunking this 10,000 hour theory and saying that it's more so it's time invested in something. It's not all about that, but it also has a lot to do with skill. So you can invest a whole lot of time in something, but if you don't have that, you don't have the skills, then how are you really going to match up or really compete with your competitor? So I guess can I answer it with a question, Tracy?
Yes,
please do.
Asking, really relating to this, when have you experienced a time where you invested a lot into something and you just really never saw the return in it? Or have you ever experienced that?
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, we can start with relationships. I definitely invested a lot of time in some relationships and did not see the return there. But absolutely in business, absolutely. I mean, I think there's always a learning curve. In my experience, there's a learning curve in business. And so one thing that I started adopting a couple of years ago is not giving myself a year-long goal, but 90-day chunks. What is it that I want to achieve in 90 days? I feel like that's a really good time for you to test a strategy or, a goal that you're working towards and really see, am I making strides towards that within those 90 days or am I not? How about you, Susie?
Good.
I feel as if even if something that you're working on doesn't have the outcome that you want, like the specific results, your experience is never wasted.
Great point.
It'd be like, that didn't work out, that was a waste, those few weeks or few months was a waste. I never really believe that that's true, because I even think about the beginning of my business and I had to learn stuff about websites and creating my own sales pages and some of this internet speak that I now luckily have a team to help and support me with. But if there's a problem, I know what I'm doing. I can throw up a sales page, I can deal with a broken URL, I can handle some stuff that my failures or some stuff that I wasn't so great with in the past allowed me to learn. So I think that sometimes if we're really quick to discount what it is that we know or think, that's not my strength, right? I that wasn't such a good use of my time. You never really know in the future. Maybe
until you try.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, so what you're saying, it's really making me think that it's as you mature in your business, you start discovering what your real strengths are, right?
Yes.
And that's really key. So what would you all say is the best way to really discover what your true strengths are?
Oh, getting busy.
Yeah. I don't
Get
know,
busy.
and I know Susie, you're going to take this up as well, but I think that really coincided with what you said. You really kind of sometimes you have to do it in order to know if it's going to work or not. For me, I've learned that I had to learn how to. I know it's basic, but we talked about it before. It's kind of saying no.
Mm,
That's
yeah.
that was a huge weakness of mine. Just being able something as people think it's super easy and people don't have that problem. Just like no, just say no. But saying no can really further your business because you might be saying yes to something that's not productive for you or your business. So that's my take. What do you say?
It's an absolute strength to know what to focus on personally and then what to outsource. So knowing your strengths is a great starting point, and building your skill set through experience is critical. Another component of that is understanding your weaknesses in areas of opportunity, right? How do you figure out what you're good at and what you did to compensate, what you're not so good at, sorry, and what you did to compensate for that in your business? I feel like we'll be talking about that after the break.
Pull up, girl boss, and join the show. That's right, it's time for your 5 minutes of fame with the hosts of the Connect Show Miami. Yes, every week we bring you girl bosses that bring the magic. It's time for the level up, ladies. Join us on Saturdays, 6 a.m. on Fox 29. Register to be a guest at theconnectonline.com. Hey, girlfriends, it's Natalie, and I wanted to take a moment to personally invite you to the Connect Network's February Mastermind with celebrity publicist Keita Williams. She's sharing how you can become the architect behind your brand, plus PR tips used by the stars. Connect members are free. VIP guests, just $49. Register at theconnectonline.com.
Welcome back to the Connect Show, and thank you for joining us this Saturday. On this show, we explore all aspects of business, and part of creating a successful business is understanding value, which is often where your strengths come in. Value creation is a vital part of a successful business, and it's not just value for that moment, but sustainable value that can drive growth over time. What processes or pieces of wisdom have you learned, ladies, that need to be really executed in order to deliver value over and over again over time?
That's a good question.
Well, I'll start. I'll take it. I feel like, value comes in different ways, right? So, of course, there's like monetary value, but it's also the value that you're giving to your clients and your customers, creating that impact. So, for me, it's always that fine line of the impact and the income, and those always work together hand in hand. So that's my thought on value. How about you?
I have a strong feeling about this actually, because often I think that there's a lot of advice out there. It's very easy to listen to any kind of the moment expert in any particular business area. But what I think is most people don't focus on value that blows people's minds. They'll be like, yeah, this is good. It's sellable, awesome, right? And you can have great success with that. I think it is a delicious thing to deliver far more than people expect. And this is why it's really, I think, critical to just always come back to yourself, trust yourself, because everyone will tell you raise your prices, do less, etc. And I'm all about that too, right? But I think it's a really wonderful loyalty inducing way to grow your business by giving people far more than they expect to receive. I think this is the best lesson of a business owner, because this is a cycle of reciprocity, right? It's a dynamic law of give and take. When you give, you're actually receiving too. There is no separation there. So I think to be generous and to over deliver you're always going to be in business and you're always going to be growing that way.
And I had a long, what do you call that? I had a long dramatic pause because I was trying to formulate my thought to effectively say it. And I think I agree with that, because I was always taught, I think I credit my sister for that. You always over deliver. You promise less, promise what you know you can do less, and then you overdo it. But I think it starts with remember first what your values are, and not forgetting them, and remembering if it doesn't align with your values, then you probably just don't want to do it. I can give you an example. I was just asked last week, I won't tell you the company, but I was asked to endorse something or partner with something. And I was like, hey, let me, give me the name of the company. And I researched it, and my gut feeling automatically was like, no. And then I did a little bit more research, and it was more so telling people to do something that I didn't know they were going to do. So I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. So I gave that finger. I had to gracefully decline. But again, it didn't align with my values because one, I didn't know what their values were. It wasn't plain or clear. So that's what I would say. Remember your values and over deliver. I agree.
Well, let's talk about that alignment with values. What about if you're in a situation where it's an employee, someone that you're working with, or maybe even an investor type role where they're not aligned with your values or the value of your company or what you're doing? What do you advise for people to do then?
I feel as if it's pretty clear early on if someone's values aren't aligned with yours. You kind of understand like what someone's work ethic is, what their ethics are in general, if they have the same approach to customer service, to how you treat your customers, how you love them. And I feel like to a point we can be flexible, right? Because we want to have a diverse mix of people and attitudes and how they approach business, on our team. But it can't be anything too different when it really matters to you. For example, I really value serving a lot of people and having a lot of fun and just being in my integrity. And those things aren't negotiable, but other things certainly are. What hours people work, having a different approach, maybe how we answer questions, innovation, creativity, allowing all of that. I think that's what a great leader does. You take the best of your people, you take their strength. And you're like, it ain't just me dictating over here. It's us. And the best leaders too, here's another great hack. A lot of managers, leaders, bosses, whatever you want to call them, they outsource or, give their team specific tasks to manage, but they don't give them decisions to make. Right. And you get a lot off your plate, and you also utilize people who are smarter than you in some areas when you're like, what do you think? That can be your call, which is like you build up over time when you have the right values typically with your team. Yeah. What do you think, Stitches?
You hit something on the head of first knowing what your non-negotiables are. But if you are in this, I feel like I got a situation for everything now. If you are in a situation where you've already made that decision and you're in partnership with somebody and you didn't first see that their values, they showed you something different from what, now you're in the trenches and you see it's like, oh, whoa, this is not working. What we recently had to do was gracefully, we saw what their strengths were. If we saw it was to a point where their values completely were detrimental to the organization or what we were doing, in our recent situation, we had to gracefully just really pull back from it. It was a nice, clean communication, but you do it to where you don't burn any bridges. But if you really feel that it's something that is gonna hurt you down the line, you gotta find a way to graciously break it off. I don't agree with staying in. That's like a real relationship. Don't stay in a relationship that is toxic or that is not going to work. Don't know. Let it go. Politely.
Oh my gosh, yes. And as Stitches says, there is a way to be gracious with an exit. I believe that every exit can be gracious. So
not through a text, right?
That's right. And you never really know when you might want to work with somebody again, and everyone, has people in common. So I think it's important to be elegant.
Absolutely.
So this is great stuff, guys. I hope to spark something for you at home. Stay tuned, because coming up next is the purpose of your business to beat the competition. See you in a moment.
Stop checking your likes is the hottest must-read of the moment. This is not a book about social media. It's about shaking off that need for approval and living your incredible life. It's available everywhere books are sold.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching, we appreciate you. So now we're talking about our competitors. If we have any, rather, some people don't see competition, but I have these amazing ladies, our co-hosts, Miss Susie and Miss Tracy, and who have a wealth of experience within the business sector and are credited women within their own right. So ladies, I want to pose the question to you. What roles does competition play in the business environment for you? That's a big one.
I love this question. I have a different view, I think, on competition in general. First of all, competition, is it really? I mean, the market's huge. There's plenty for everybody. There's not even enough customers already being served out there. So I always think about that first. But then also, I'm friendly with my competitors. You never know when you might collaborate. I think it's really great to maybe share ideas sometimes. But also, I think that if there's lots of competitors in my market, that means I'm in a great market. There's a big appetite for it. And so I think that probably competition doesn't have to be something that takes up much mental space. And it's great to have as loving and open-minded an attitude as possible, because no one can be you at the end of it all. The way that you do it, the way that you walk and talk and live your life and run your business is completely unique.
I totally agree with what you said, that no one can beat you. And that's, I think, the main thing. It's so easy to get hung up on, oh, well, if she's doing this or they're doing this, then, the market is just saturated, which is just total BS. It's just not true, right? The other thing is, I'm very, very mindful of what I actually take in for information. Right. So while I know that, there's many people that, teach fitness and, focus on diet-free weight loss like I do, but they're not going to do it in the way that I do. So what I do is I often just try to not consume other people's content just in that sphere, so that I'm not influenced by them, but rather maybe other things like fashion or other things that I find interesting, focus on how they're running things. And then I go, ooh, I really like that idea, how this person was doing this sort of strategy or came up with a really creative idea here. How can I make that my own? But it's not in the same lane. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah. Yes. Stitches, what do you think?
It's funny. I have a friend that uses this term, queens don't compete.
Oh,
specifically for women, but men, their competitive nature. And I think we have a bit of competitiveness in us just as people for the most part. But I would have to focus on what you were called to do and focus on the values, like we mentioned earlier. What are your values? What do you stand for? What can you bring to the table? There's only one of you, right? Each of us have, and it goes in line with what you said, Tracy, but it's something that we always say to our students. It's like, out of the billions of people, pero in the world, everybody has a unique fingerprint. So that means everybody is unique in a simple way. That's a very, basic way to put it, but on a grander scheme related to business. So if we all have a different fingerprint, that means there's something different about you. So there's something different about your business that's comparable to so on and so on, but just bring out that difference. If you're looking at somebody on Instagram, social media, and you looking at them is bringing you down and depressing you and putting you in this cave that's like, I can't do it anymore, then that means you gotta stop.
Well, I want to dive in a little deeper here, though. So sure. Let's get to the nitty gritty. I know we're all really balanced. We're all smart ladies. Like, we're mature. But was there ever a time when you experienced unhealthy competition?
Oh, yes.
I want the tea. Spill the tea.
And look, I understand we're humans and we learn from other people, but sometimes it can feel like a little bit uncomfortable. You can think, oh, this person's so much further ahead, or they do it, in such a cute way, and I'm still kind of fumbling or figuring it out. When I first started working as a life coach, I was, observing all the coaches that had followings and all the books, and I was like, starting to dislike them, right? And I was looking for things that I could kind of secretly criticize. Go, oh, she doesn't really know her stuff, or she doesn't really care about her people. And I'm like, throwing coffee on someone else's like nice dress doesn't make your dress look any better, right? And it also just brings down your beliefs about your own industry. It's very easy to feel heated, to feel defensive, to feel, what's she up to? What's he up to? And I don't know. I feel like you're just more successful, lighter, freer, without, like you guys said, even just the conscious awareness of it. And if you don't see it, it can't bother you, right? So kind of tuning it out, listening to your inner voice, and not getting too busy and into what other people are doing for sure makes a difference.
Blinders on.
and sometimes you got to check yourself. I appreciate you being transparent about that, because sometimes we can't even get to a point where it was like, oh, wait, you felt a certain way about that. But I appreciate that transparency. But sometimes we do have to check ourselves, and I can only speak on that because I've been through that. So when I saw that it was bringing me in a place where I wasn't being productive, that's when I had to really step back and be like, okay, no, I got to focus on what I was called to do and what I'm here for.
Up next, we are discussing our favorite moments from the Super Bowl. Stay tuned.
Are you ready to transform your body in just 30 minutes a day from your living room? I'm Tracy Campoli, the creator of Total Body Transformation, the excuse-proof fitness program made for busy babes like you and me to get fit, sweat, and smile. We've been featured on Good Morning America, The Today Show, and in USA Today. All you have to do is simply log in and press play. No boredom, no stress, and no dread. All in just 30 short minutes from the comfort of your own home. Go to tracycampoli.com to get started today. Welcome back to the show, and we are talking about the Super Bowl. So, who watched it?
I will admit, I'm going to say it's because I'm English, where we don't have the Super Bowl. It's not huge in my house, but I love the camaraderie. I love seeing it on Instagram. And I love how, from my knowledge, Tom Brady was stellar. And I love how he defeats the age rules, right? He is much older than his competition, speaking of competition prior, and he just continues to show up and do his thing, not having that belief that he's too old or he's past his prime. So I love and salute that.
43 years old, I think this was his 7th or 8th Super Bowl. And $50 million for the Bucks for 2 years. So
not too shabby.
I think his first year already getting a Super Bowl, I think he's good. So I did get a chance to watch it. I was back and forth, and some people were tweeting, of course. I believe they called it Colin Kaepernick Appreciation Day. So people were on the fence about watching it. But a couple of people I know also watched the halftime show. But I do have to say, shout out to the Bucks, because Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they really took it home. They did a great job. If you didn't see the game, you got to go see the highlights. I posted it, and I did like my own commentary, like if I was an announcer. I watched the game because I love the announcers, but it was I don't know what happened to KC. Sorry, KC fans. It didn't happen. It didn't happen that night, but nevertheless, it was a good game.
Tracy, what say you?
Well, I will sheepishly admit that I did not watch it, but like Susie, I do think, Tom Brady, I'm from Massachusetts, so Tom Brady is like a hero. So I'm going to do my little Boston impression that I say all the time. Tom Brady never lets you down. Never, never lets you down. So, I think he's amazing. And I think it is great, like how it just brings people together. And especially after, all that we've been through, it's great to have these moments where we feel connected to something. So I think that's really exciting, but I did not watch. I mean, I watched a little bit. It was like my husband was watching it, but I was sort of doing other things.
I was excited to see, though, also Jasmine Sullivan, and it was Church, one of the country singers, and Amanda Gorman, the youngest to recite at the inauguration. She did a piece. I think it was her
obsessed with her.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and her did her rendition with the guitar, like, honey,
Yeah, she's everything. I love her.
It was a great scene. Commercials. Did you guys watch any? Oh no. Did you catch any of the commercials on YouTube, like on your feed?
I love commercials in general. Whenever people like skip the commercials, in general, I love them. I just find them so captivating. I love to see what marketing tips are being employed. I love to see what looks kind of fascinating, the risks that certain advertisers take. What was your favorite one, Stitches?
Mine, I think, funny enough, it was a beer commercial. But it was so, I pay attention because I go to the movies to watch like the music in motion with the movement and all that. But from the voice talent of the commercial to the script writing and the lines and the actors they had, it was great. And I loved it. And I even tweeted like, who wrote this? They need a raise. Like, it was really good. So I like those kind of things. But I found out, ladies, that a lot of the corporations and companies, they kind of dialed back on investing in Super Bowl commercials this year. $5 million or more are what some people have paid, but from Burger King and I think Skechers kind of said they're not going to invest. And some companies took the money that they would have for ads and gave it back to healthcare workers or to help those who were affected by the pandemic. Yeah, so that
I love that. That's amazing.
I also saw that it was socially distanced, the Super Bowl too. So in the stadium, there were just a lot of spaces between the crowds. Is this something new that we're going to be seeing? This is fascinating. Are we setting a new precedent now for live events?
I think so. Because when first watching it, even when I saw it, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's too many people there. What's going on?
That's exactly what I thought too.
I was like,
yeah.
But then they did all stuff. And then you saw it was cardboard. So I think people paid a certain amount of money and they had mostly, I think it was all like 700 plus healthcare workers or first responders that were attending the game. So the cardboards, you paid for it, and then you were able to be a cardboard presence.
I have to say, whenever we speak about the Super Bowl and I speak to any of my friends in other countries, they're like, oh, that's a really big thing, right? And I'm like, yeah, it is.
The only thing you need to know is Tom Brady never lets you down. Just say it. Tom Brady. Tom. Never lets you down.
The defense did good too, Tracy. The defensive team did good too.
Oh my God. Can you imagine even playing in a game like that? Everybody's watching. I mean, just wow. Like it's such a breathtaking thing. So.
Miami Dolphins next year.
Maybe. Yeah, next year. I'm impressed with everything you know, Stitches. I'm just always learning from you. What can I say? Okay, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in with us. And if you want to be a guest on the show or know someone who would be a great guest, please reach out to us at www.theconnectonline.com. We'll see you next week on The Connect Show, South Florida. Bye for now.
He's fabulous.